Welcome back, folks, to Too Much Popcorn, the movie review podcast where Jimmy and I watch a movie and then we sit down afterwards. We talk about the highs, the lows of that movie, the things we liked, the things we didn't like, and ooh, yes, that's right. You're hearing the Aaron with a new microphone, the new audio, the good sound.
Aaron in stereo.
Whoa! No longer will I be peeking off of the walls and having you guys hear terrible things. No, now you get the dulcet tones of both Aaron and Jimmy.
Remember when Aaron sounded like he was working out of a horror house and sort of just like torture happening in the background? You won't hear that anymore. He's turned that. Those torture victims are long gone.
Yes, and folks, that was a HORROR house. Let's just get that straight.
I say it horror. What I mean horror.
Horror.
Horror. A hip hip horror.
Well, folks, you're probably wondering, what did you guys watch this week? And I'm wondering why you're asking that, because it's probably in one of the titles somewhere. Yeah, that's right. We watched Captain America. You know, the movie with Chris Evans and, let's see, who else? Maggie something, Atwell, and Hugo Weaving.
Peggy Carter.
Yes, that's not the one we watched. In fact, we watched the 1991 Captain America. The Captain America that stars
some guy
with Schmaggy Schmarter
and all your favorite villains: Red Skull, hot Italians. That's it. That's all the villains, actually.
Yeah. Oh man, where do we start? Do we start with the whole fact that they didn't put Peggy Carter in this at all, or do we start with the hot Italians? Because
is she? So I'm a greenhorn. I've never read a single Captain America comic ever. Is she a a pertinent character, or was she created for the multiverse of the cinematic universe? Is she comic canon? Is that what's going on?
Folks, it may sound like Jimmy's asking me this question right now, but as always, we do zero prep work. I don't actually know.
I'm asking the ether.
Yeah. We're putting this out to you guys. Please scream at your microphones in your iPhones, and that will get to us. And let's take a listen right now. Yeah, no.
I hear the echoing screams. Actually, I'm hearing it just from you again. You might have to turn down the torture. You turned it back up. Sorry, yeah. No, Peggy Carter's not in this one. But the main comparison here is there is Captain America from World War II goes over to fight Nazis.
That's about it.
For about 2 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. So, again, I've read plenty of comic, but I am fairly nubile when it comes to Captain America. Nubile such as the president was. We'll get to that, folks.
We'll get to that later.
But I'm pretty sure that the few things that we know are that Captain America is a New Yorker who fucking hates bullies and
loves a pizza
and making a jingles, and all he wants to do is go over and fight Nazis in World War II, and like that's his impetus. That's what he wants, and then he fights Hydra and all of that, and this movie just had none of that. And that's not hyperbole. Like, this movie had none of that.
No, it felt like after seeing early credits, you see a Stan Lee producer credit. He's involved with this project. And so I'm led to believe, yes, he's not in any of the writing meetings. You know, his name is up there probably as just like you have my good graces to try and make a Captain America movie. And I don't know if there was anything beyond that, because it does feel like they're absolutely not trying to do any sort of comic tie-in to this one. They're just saying this is our Captain America and our Red Skull. And these are different from the comics because we have them do this buck wild shit that happens in the movie.
It does kind of feel like the writers got together and they're like, "Hey, Stan Lee, we're gonna make a Captain America movie," and he's like, "Hey, do it, you fucking nerds!" And then he took all their comic books so that they had no source material.
Yes,
they had the one like cover where they saw his costume. They gave that to the costuming department, and the costuming department was like, "We'll get that pretty spot on. The mask is gonna be kind of wonky and not look right."
It'll look like literally you cut the eyes out with children safe scissors.
Yeah. And so the costuming department got that, and then everybody else was just kind of like, "Okay, so he's a captain." And
it's almost like they went to some kid who remembered that they read Captain America one time and they were like, okay, this kid's writing the script, and he's like, okay, so he goes and he's from California this time because I'm from California and I love it here, and he goes and he becomes super strong, but also if he's shot he does not take bullets very well. He's a bad don't shoot Captain America. I think that's number one. It just was so weird to watch this, and so impossible to detach it from the phenom that is Captain America First Avenger and the just pillar of Marvel that is both an Adonis of a pillar, like actually chiseled from Marvel, like Chris Evans. But, you know, we're trying to watch it with like 1991. Obviously, First Avenger did not exist. They can't just full on rip off a better movie. Ooh, whoops. So it's just like there weren't enough people involved that really cared to see where this had to go. And so they said, let's make maybe one of the most convoluted, lore dump heavy, crazy dialogue and just fill it with as many hot Italian people that we can find, because there's no merit to this film besides watching hot Italian people try and shoot this one guy.
Yeah. And don't forget all of the writers' conveniences left and right. They were just all over the place. Boy, howdy.
Was there a convenience at all in this movie, though? Because let's start at the top here. He becomes Captain America. That's fine. He goes to Nazi Germany, where Red Skull is an Italian man.
Yes. I think we need to even take a step back here. So the movie starts with a little kid playing a piano, right, for his family. And you're like, oh, okay, Nazi Germany. They're going to come in. They're going to show the horrors of what the Nazis did and like set up that they're really bad guys. And then Red Skull's going to come in kind of like he did in First Avenger. You know, probably shoot somebody, be like, oh, I'm a bad guy. That's my Hugo Weaving impression, by the way. Take that as
a gay.
Take that as either Elrond or Red Skull.
Or Agent Smith. He's here too.
Mr. Smith, I'm a bad guy.
Hey, I'm a bad guy.
So then the little kid gets kidnapped, taken to an Italian castle where Italian fascists are working with Nazis to work on a super soldier program that they have somehow developed. And they proceed to strap this little Italian kid into a chair that you, by context clues, get is going to turn him into Red Skull. And you are sitting there thinking the whole time, wait, this kid's going to be Red Skull? Because one, he's like 12. And two, he's Italian. Which, again, not super into the comics, but I'm pretty sure Red Skull is supposed to be a German who was a former Nazi, then is working for Hydra. Like, that's the thing, right?
And so you got to throw it away because we're in this other space now.
Yeah, we're in a multiverse of madness.
It's certainly mad. I think there's so many little details in that intro sequence that just were so bafflingly weird, because the recording, they're recording it and you're like, okay, so him being recorded is sort of important. The scientist, the Italian scientist who created the super serum, flees and is not shot. She just sort of escapes out of the window, and then the Nazis who were trying to like pursue her are like, oh, well, she got outside.
Yeah. She wasn't a prisoner.
Gone. I guess she's dead and can't stop anything. There's just so many weird choices that the characters are making that you step outside of, character choice, and you're just saying, so they just didn't sort of write any of anything to happen. They just sort of said, we have to get Red Skull to happen here so that he can be the guy that he becomes 7 to 57 years from now. And who boy, does that guy become a guy who doesn't even have a red face at all.
And also, okay, so the little kid that they kidnap and strap into the chair, he appears to be about 12. Then in the time that the Americans spend building Captain America, the screen shows that there's a 7-year gap. So 12 plus 7, my math might be off a little bit here, but that's 19. So you got Red Skull, who's now 19, but in the movie, he's like easily mid-30s.
He's like a 30-year-old guy who's like, I'm evil.
Yeah. I don't know English. Help me out about Captain America.
How do you say, como se dice White House?
Yeah. So we then get, okay. So then the Americans decide to build Captain America. And they're like, we have, out of 600 applicants, the perfect person for this program. Now, we're not going to tell you why he's the perfect program, but he does have birth defects. He walks with a little bit of a limp, and he is the perfect person for this candidate. So, you know how in the first Avenger, like, I'm sorry, I got to keep comparing it to that. Because
it's hard not to.
It is.
It's hard not to.
They show little Steve Rogers with all this heart. He pulls the flagpole down, showing that he's got the brains. They show he's got, kindness towards Peggy. He jumps on a hand grenade for his friends. You're like, this guy's got heart. That's why he turns into Captain America. And I do specifically remember the reason Red Skull turns into Red Skull is because he is such an evil person at heart that the going through the super soldier program contorts him and changes him.
Man, this kid was fucking evil, dude. He played the piano and he was forced to play the piano and he hated playing the piano. And it was his whole life. And it made him really evil.
Yeah, and the reason Steve Rogers can go through and become, Captain America is because he's good at heart. And do we get any of that explanation in this? No.
It's funny you do mention that because 100% Hugo Weaving Red Skull is evil. And this Red Skull wants to be the president real bad.
Yeah.
But also, because he's not pure evil, he is just sort of like a nebulous. He considers himself a businessman who dabbles in science. This is a line direct from the Red Skull himself. And to be fair, to be involved with sort of Nazi science and rockets that are being sent to the White House and all this sort of stuff, and just sort of end on, I want to run a crime family and have a bunch of hot children. It sort of is in line with his character goals in terms of not being extremely evil, but being thrust into this like Nazi role at 19 and being like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I hope we win.
Yeah, he got his little bit of military service and, got out after the war and then...
Compulsory.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. He was drafted. And then he went into...
Well, they gave him the serum and he got the red face and they're like, oh, you look so good if we put you in like epaulets and stuff. And he's like, okay, whatever you was saying.
Yeah, I'll be the evil guy. And
But really, he's like, I just want to have a family. That was Red Skull's real sort of thing. He's like, I want to have a daughter.
Yeah.
Hey.
They told him he was going to be evil. He thought they were saying Il Vul, which is the Italian superhero, the Vul.
So there we go.
Yeah, he thought he was going to be that. He got the short end of that stick.
And he's like, I built these digging claws. I'm so ready to be Il Vul. It just sort of, we have to sort of make up something like this because he's the worst and most uncompelling villain in a film that I've seen in quite a while. in terms of not only does his special effect of like the Red Skull look so bad in both phases of his life, there's just a vibe about him that is so ineffectual. To the point of where he's like talking to a scientist and it's like 20 minutes to get this serum going. Oh my God, this is going to take forever. I'll never become the president at this rate. And you like smash cut to Hugo Weaving, whose special effect literally removes his nose, making him a terrifying specter of a human. And then literally is like Nazi laser tanks and Hydra technology and like rockets and giant, winged things that are just being sent to like drop nukes on the American wasteland. And you're like, this guy's evil, and his sort of machinations lay where they belong with him in terms of he wants hellfire to rain down upon the non-believers. And this guy's just like, I just want to have a daughter, and I don't like that my skull is all sort of red and facial. I need some facial he just needed to acquire some money to get the facial reconstruction surgery. So that was his sort of goal there.
It's almost fitting, though, because you do have, Red Skull, who's the antithesis of Captain America in the first Avenger. And it's like perfectly set. One's super evil, one's super good. This one, this Red Skull keeps calling Captain America his brother. And it is kind of his brother because they both just suck.
He just wants some family. He just wants to bond over how much he sucks.
Yeah. For as much as the Red Skull sucks in this movie, Captain America just sucks equally, if not more, where you're like...
So much more.
Bro. Because, all right, so they choose this Steve Rogers. They make him into Captain America.
Let's call him like Steph Rogers, because he's not Steve. He's not my Steve Rogers.
Yeah, it's Steve, but with a PH.
It's Cap Fin. It's actually Cap Fin America. They kept saying it wrong. It's Cap Fin America.
That's why he's got the fins on the side of his helmet.
He's got the fin wings on the side.
That makes sense.
Cap Fin America.
Yeah. So okay. So they turn him into Captain America. They give him they straight up say, "Hey, you have this fireproof suit. Hey, have you used your shield?" And he's like, "Oh, a little bit, but I wish I had more time to use it and get like some practice with it." And then literally they throw him out of an airplane into a Nazi facility, and they're like, "Good luck. Good luck on your first mission, Captain America. Bye-bye. You're going to unite the United States. You're going to give us a symbol to fight for."
I had birth defects. I've never walked normally.
Yeah. They don't set up how much time has gone into training this man, but it like from the fact that he hasn't had enough time to use his shield, it's minimal at best.
There can't be any time.
Yeah. And so they send him into this fucking Nazi facility. Okay, he does some great stuff at the beginning. He throws his shield, knocks down a whole tower. You're like, hey, that's kind of cool.
I think that was the coolest thing that happened in the movie.
Yeah, he moves a truck with his hands. You're like, okay, he's kind of super strong. He does this stupid flip into some Nazis. And then it just gets off the rails where he runs into Red Skull. Red Skull kicks his ass and then straps him to a rocket. Oh, and then the rocket.
So Red Skull had like a needle on his hand, right? And he was sort of just like poking him. Did he like... it did seem sort of skeevy, right? You're like, oh, he is kind of evil. He poked him real bad. I don't like that.
Yeah. And then he like poked and choked him out at the same time. And like...
He was very effective against supposedly his equal.
Yeah. Yeah, and like...
Which, again, lends credence to Captain America being the worst one.
And he straight up, like, kicks Captain America's ass, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like, he's way more powerful. And then he straps Captain America to a rocket, shoots him off towards the United States, towards the White House. There's this weird jump cut to this kid for 5 minutes where the kid's like, I'm gonna be president someday. And which, like, if you're not paying attention for a quick second, you totally miss that, and it sets up a huge impetus for the movie.
And guess who was half paying attention? And he's just called the president. I'm like, wait, this kid's the president? I got it. He wasn't the president then. But we do get a newspaper montage of him becoming the president.
Yeah, and he snuck out to go to the White House, to see the White House, Captain America's coming in, hurtling in on a rocket, sees the kid somehow when he's flying at Mach 2, kicks the rocket a couple times, barely misses this kid's head. The kid has a chance to take a picture, and he's like,
very
wow!
clear picture.
Yeah. And he's like, wow! And he later describes, there was a guy on the side of the rocket who had this blue mask with a white A on top of it. And you're like, bro, you got that at Mach 2? Like,
that kid had the freaking eyes of a god.
Yeah. And then
which plays into it later, his character.
Yeah, God eyes.
The new Marvel superhero.
So then Captain America goes careening off towards Alaska, lands into the ice, as we all know. He goes
Somewhere
into the
in
ice.
Alaska.
And then he's under ice for 30 years while that little kid grows up and becomes president.
Rocket doesn't even explode.
Rocket doesn't even explode.
It was a dud.
Yeah.
Didn't hit the warhead part on the top, I guess, to detonate. Even though it did really like slide into Alaska at Mach 2. I think it would have still done something, just sort of small thermal nuclear explosion there.
Even just like smearing Captain America against the rocks like a fly on your leg, like...
Oh, it'd be so cool if his original costume was all like cut up by the Alaska descent. That'd be cool.
But it was perfect. It was perfect. There was no damage to it.
He almost has a thumb up like a Terminator coming out of the ice. Like, I'm good.
Yeah. The Germans find him. They cut him out. And then he comes out and he's running through the Canadian wilderness. Then there's one of my favorite lines where he looks and he goes, home must be somewhere south of here.
He knows north and south.
Yeah.
North means cold. South means less cold.
Yeah. And it established one of my favorite Captain America facts. He's not good at many things in this movie, but he does know north and south.
He knows a true north when he's got one in his sights. Because what if he just went the wrong way out of the rocket?
Yeah. What if he kept going east?
What if their campsite where he came out was just sort of oriented in a non-north-south way, and he just was like, uh-oh.
What if he was in Antarctica and he's like, home must be somewhere south of here? I guess he'd still
and he keeps looping back. He gets caught in a Bermuda Triangle situation.
Yeah.
It almost would have been better than what happens in terms of him ending up in Canada somewhere where now, again, 50 years have passed. So the child who was born to be a reporter and also know about the Red Skull
somehow
that's sort of, there's one line where it's like he's a world-renowned reporter, like he would know, period. But he kind of is just a guy in a sort of newspaper office. Like he's established as like, I got the pencil in my mouth, I put it in my ear.
He works.
I'm just like I was when I was a kid, when I have very many like stilted motions to know that I'm going to do a thing. Remember in the cutscene before where the child had a pencil in his ear? Same guy.
Yeah.
He's in the movie now.
And he works in a little cubicle. So how are you supposed to know that this guy is he's got all the details?
I mean, they can't afford a big fancy newspaper office on the 36th floor in New York, so he's relegated to his tiny cubicle.
Yeah.
But that's where he's doing the good news, Aaron. He's getting the good dirt.
Yeah, and he does somehow know about Red Skull, even though Red Skull at this time, who is now running an Italian mafia for some reason, only operates wearing... and they didn't establish, like, did he have facial work done to, because
there was one line that said he had facial reconstruction surgery.
Okay, see, I missed that.
It was so quick because I needed an explanation. My brain was actively searching out that as to why he was no longer red.
Yeah.
He was just a pink guy now.
And then he calls himself like Mr. Santini. So in no way is he like, hi, I'm the Red Skull and everybody should know me as the Red Skull. I do evil things as the Red Skull. Ooh.
I've been the Red Skull for 50 years. Yeah.
Yeah. He's also not been frozen this whole time and still is somehow the same age that he was back in World War II.
I'm not sure. He has hair. He grew hair.
He did have hair.
He has a daughter, at least. So
he does have a now canon daughter who...
But no canon wife.
Yeah.
Which is important because, I don't know, that's the thing, though. Like, the whole thing with this mob family of his is he is just looking for family. This guy wants connection. And, hey, I feel him. He just is sort of... He wants to reintegrate into society. Yes, he does it through living in a castle and doing some nefarious business deals with American generals that are sort of a little evil. And you can assume that for 50 years, he's sort of just been doing bad stuff. But to what end? Owning a castle and a crime family? That's the life.
Yeah.
He's got it going on.
And not only that, from what I can see in this movie, he's a good dad because, like, he's setting up his daughter for success where he's like, hey, I could just be giving you, like, an allowance every day. I could just be letting you sit around on the beach, but no, I'm going to give you responsibility to go kill Captain America.
Putting her to work.
Yeah, and he gives her, like, tasks, and you know what? She's on it. She flies a fucking jet over to America with her hot friends.
Hot friends.
Yeah, they're just these kids who are hanging out by the pool. They're doing 90s stuff, and they're like, hey, il ragazzo. And then
Il ragazzo.
And then she grabs them, puts her team together, goes over to America to go kill Captain America. And I'm like, hey, that is a strong...
Multiple times.
Yeah.
She is globe-trotting with her friends, living it up.
Yeah. She goes over to America to kill Captain America, comes back...
The first time.
Yeah. Comes back
Canada.
Yeah. Even better.
On bikes.
Comes back to Italy... like 2 days later to kidnap the president, goes back over now to America into California to kill Captain America again. And it's like, what can't this lady do?
And guess what? She is unstopped. She is not stopped.
Yeah.
There's no great she is murdered by someone else scene and she's finally like put to death. No. And she doesn't deserve that. She's great and her friends are great and they don't deserve that.
No. In fact, they deserve to win. As you said multiple times, and I fully agreed with you, those hot teens deserve to win.
They were putting in the work, and you know who was actively not putting in the work? Steve Rogers over here, putting on turtlenecks, watching the MLK speech and not learning anything from it, just sort of being like, oh, I guess that happened. And there's just, it's also kind of creepy that, so it's established he's older because he sees his original flame, Brenna or
Betty? No, Bernie.
Whatever her name.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders is there, and he wants progressive change. And Captain America is like, "You're too old, Bernie. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go hang out with your hot daughter, who I relate to now because I'm young." And Bernie is then summarily killed by the hot Italians, and his progressive ways will never stop because they live on through young Bernie, whose name is Sharon, I think. But we do get some very good 90s fits out of Bernie's daughter, who Captain America decides to hang out with. And also one of the funniest bits and probably the only redeeming quality of this movie is that Captain America's favorite thing to do is to feign car sickness so that he can have somebody who seemingly cares about him in some respects come out of the car and go, hey, what's up, Steve, Captain? Are you okay? Is everything okay? And then Steve goes, Jukes. And he gets back into the car, of course, that has the key still in it. And he drives away without the person who was so kindly driving him where he needed to go before. That happens in Canada with the reporter, and then yet again, the same thing in Italy with Sharon, who does not deserve that, because if really he wanted to do that, he could have just left her at the airport.
He could have just not
left her at whatever hotel they checked into. There's no reason for him to be that much of a dick to her. And she's the only one who knows rudimentary to at least sort of advanced Italian to get information from people in town. And he's just walking around like he speaks to someone in a window and she's like, oh, no English. And he's like, well, I have a couple questions about the family that lives here. And she's like, oh, no, no. So she saves his ass on multiple occasions. And he fully is like, I'm going to ditch her. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Irredeemable.
Hey.
That's why he should lose.
But if you want a Captain America who smokes and steals cars, like, this is like the 90s cool Captain America. Oh, yeah, he also drinks milk, like height of the Got Milk campaign.
Speaking of cigarettes and milk, you want to go for an ad break?
Let's do it.
Let's put on our leather jackets. I gotta take this leather jacket off from my cool ads.
Man, I'm glad I got milk during that campaign. Wait, that ad break campaign? Oh, they're onto us.
Oh, Steve, he's so bad.
Yeah. Hey, but he was successful. Oh no, he was successful doing. He was successful
doing
Let's
getting the shield
see.
back somehow. Inexplicably.
I don't think he ever lost the shield.
Oh, it was on him on the rocket?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like his one weapon and they didn't remove it from him when they detached him to the rocket?
No.
All right, that's 1 point against Red Skull.
Yeah.
So but I think that's a point against Nazis, not his hot Italian family.
They have him tied to the rocket. Red Skull goes up to him. Captain America grabs him. Rocket's about to take off. Red Skull cuts his hand off to get away from Captain America for some reason. And then, yeah, Captain America gets blown off into space also with his shield. And then in Canada has it and has it all the way to California.
So here's an alternate reality where this movie is slightly better and more comic booky, just in my mind. Instead of cutting his hand off, the Red Skull is like, we'll see the White House taken down together then, brother. And they have a cool fight on the rocket.
Yeah.
Where, like, Captain America breaks a restraint because we've seen him be super powerful and break a restraint before. And they have a cool sort of, like, fisticuffy fight on a rocket.
That's kind of where I thought that scene was going to go because, I was like, all right, they're going to be flying, and then Red Skull's going to fall off the rocket at one point, get frozen, and then Captain America's going to be at a different point, get frozen, and then they both get unfrozen in the future. But no, Red Skull just spends the next 30 years becoming a all-around businessman, and
him losing his hand though now fully makes more sense in terms of him wanting to be whole. He has this part of him missing this whole time where his childhood was taken away from him. His face was disfigured. His hand was taken off by this true American villain who would not let him destroy the White House. And he's just spending this 50 years not destroying the entire world and instead cultivating a life for himself. He gets a prosthetic. He gets facial reconstruction surgery. He gets a daughter. He maybe has a wife at some point. He finds love.
Yeah.
To some degree.
And to add on to that, like, he can't even play piano anymore.
No. He'd have to play one-handed tunes only.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Captain America took away the one thing he still had that connected him to his previous life.
And I think that was one of my biggest faults with this movie is in the first one, you're like, all right, this is Hydra. They're working for the Nazis. Fuck the Nazis. Fuck Hydra. Like, these are the bad guys, and I hate them. But this movie, where you got the nice Italian dad who's running his business, wants to just be whole, I'm fucking cheering for him. And I'm like, oh no, I can't even call him Red Skull anymore. He's Mr. Santini. He's, gone and reformed himself.
It's funny because the main thing about this movie that I sort of now understand, having seen the last credit indicating, please vote for the Environmental Protections Agency Act of 1990. So this movie is essentially trying to align you with the president's goal of getting that act passed by, in Rome with whatever world leaders. But because we are so disconnected from the environmental there are so many, like, we've had the EPA for a long time. We've had it disbanded. We've had it do good stuff. We've had it be completely useless in terms. But for this movie to be its whole thing saying the president you like because he's trying to get this thing passed, and we're 30 years out from that fact, and we're saying, I mean, yeah, sure, I guess. It was really his only line, though, to have the guy from RoboCop, who is like the main villain in RoboCop, and a great actor, I think, in terms of in that movie. In this movie, I don't know. Jury's still out on that one.
He played some blue jeans wearing, weekend dad.
Jimmy Carter. Yeah. So it's like his vibe is weird because the kid conversation was hard to follow. And I think that's when it establishes what his name is. And then during the newspaper, you're getting updates on his life, what he's doing. But I fully was like, who is this? Is this the Red Skull in disguise?
Yeah.
I didn't understand.
And when you said, is this the Red Skull in disguise? Because I had that little context clue of him being like, I'm going to be president. I was like, okay, that's that kid. But when you said that about the Red Skull, I was like, oh, okay, this movie might be onto something where Red Skull infiltrates.
Cooler movie.
Oh, dude, it'd be fucking great. But yeah, and I think the movie could have done itself a little bit of justice if the kid had been like, Mom, look at the environment. I know it's the 1940s, but I can tell that the ozone layer is weakening. We need to just be doing something about the environment right now. I have this idea for recycling. I've got this idea for...
And she's like, oh, Ken, last name.
Yeah. Oh, Ken Campbell, why don't you go to bed right now and have dreams of becoming the president another day? And then you're like, okay, this sets up this kid's motivation. This sets up that we're going to be seeing him later. Instead, you just get this dork who's like, I'm going to be president. I saw this guy who was attached to a missile. And, like,
and then the movie's like, wish fulfilled.
And you're also like, all right, I know that this kid says that he saw somebody on a rocket, and it showed me for a fact that he was there seeing somebody on a rocket, but I don't even believe him.
His friend's like, I don't know. This is a weird picture.
Yeah.
I saw us in great detail.
I can describe him. His name was Steve Rogers. I know who he is. You're like, whoa.
He handed me his wallet on the way past.
Yeah. Captain America's wallet falls out of his pocket.
He goes, oh, Steve Rogers. I'll keep this name in my head forever. Also, because near the end, Captain America with the mask on is like, hey, Mr. President, it's me, Steve Rogers. And then the president's like, oh, I saw you in a dream. And you're like,
yeah. Yeah, the president's like, I know who you are. And it's like, how? But to be fair,
a secret mission, I guess.
To be fair, that reporter somehow got the exact file with all of his details in it, and
that feels unexplained to me too. Yeah. That I really didn't like, because he's looking through top secret with the stamp on it.
Yeah.
Information, and it's top secret on the outside, and then inside is like more stamps indicating it's like security level, and you're like, how did you get this at all?
Yeah, and he's just sitting there, and he's like, heh, 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 Freedom of Information Act.
Not only that, he gets the information from that, which is a government document, and then he calls the president, and he's like, I got this information. And then the president's like, well, yeah, I guess I gave you it, but didn't peruse it first because I don't care.
And then
what was that whole sequence?
Yeah, in this very secret document that has all these like lab records about Captain America is somehow his one-time girlfriend's address in California from the 40s, where she just so conveniently lives, to that day in the 90s.
Seriously, like a piece of mail. Yeah. The one hint he needed.
Which, on the piece of mail, routed to a P.O. box.
So there's a sequence that they cut out of the movie where he goes to the general P.O. box sort of situation, and he's like, I know this is... he gives the guy a $5 and is like, who lives at this P.O. box? And they go through the client information, and he's a good reporter.
Yeah.
He figured it out.
And then later he gets blasted, and it's fucking awesome. But
he gets blasted by the hot Italians, and he deserved it. In the
did.
back. Big
Yeah.
squib, too. 90s-ass squib. I loved it.
Okay, so that's something we got to address, which is, in general, who was this movie for? Because, one, this movie had for a, let's put it in reference of like, you're 10 or 12 and the movie's trying to market it to you. This movie had a fair bit of swearing and just some awesome freaking squibs.
Good squibs.
Yeah.
90s-ass squibs.
Oh, yeah. Like, so Captain America gets turned into Captain America. This one, like, senator walks up to a scientist and he's like, Heil Hitler, and then just blasts her 3 times and then blasts Captain America. You see the squibs blow through the front and back of Captain America.
It's very bloody.
Yeah. And then he just goes about doing his Captain America thing. And it's like, who is this movie for?
It was graphically violent for maybe 5 seconds of the entire film, though.
True. And the swearing, I would say, was probably also in total 10 seconds max, but, you know.
Yeah.
But then there was also the little...
PG to PG-13, you know?
Yeah, but then there was also that little montage where they're singing about the woman you're thinking about.
This guy's 3 songs in this movie top it, make it so much worse. There's an aspect to this soundtrack that is so low quality that even the filmmakers knew that it was so bad they cut it off during a sequence, and it's so jarring. It's like in the first 10 minutes they cut off their own soundtrack to cut to like a different song, and the scene is the same scene. Like there's no... It's like a conversation that they cut to a different shot and then the soundtrack changes. And it's great because it was so jarring. I was like awake for the rest of whatever that was happening. But then also that same scene, I think, is the one where they just mic'd them up horribly. And the joke is like the boom guy's mic like got stolen by seagulls because they were louder than the dialogue track. And you just hear like... And so the amount, like, if there was any valid information during the first, like, conversation that I'm getting between Bernie and Steve, it's gone. It's seagulls. The joke persisted, too, because there were a lot of times in this movie where the sound quality dips, and you're saying, who's the boom guy on this? Because he's outside. He's somewhere else, and the conversation's happening in here. he's fighting those seagulls from the first sequence. So there was a problem in terms of overall quality of sound mixing, dialogue tracks. Like some ADR was truly bad as well. And it's stuff where in other movies, if you're seeing, you know, somebody's talking and you know it's the back of their head so you can ADR it, you give it a pass. But then it flips to the other side and they sound totally different, like they're in a totally different zone. Yes, I'm going to point it out in this instance here and while I'm watching it because it sucks. It's like it's not a cinema sin in terms of that. It's just like bad filmmaking to let that be your final cut. And so there's so many of those instances where the quality just keeps ratcheting down. You're like, okay, well, they're doing a full sequence in the dark and all the gunshots and any choreo is just lost because 80% of the shot is complete darkness. There's the ADR, you know, there's all these visually and audio, just a big mess most of this movie.
Yeah. Oh, and then, yeah, to add on to that, you also have the soundtrack where you have the one Captain America theme which has those horrible synth horns.
MIDI horns from like a Game Boy game.
Yeah, it was just one dude on a little MIDI keyboard who was like, do 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 do
Hit
do.
all the keys. The quote unquote theme is like if Star Wars didn't have a theme and just instead you hit all the notes on the keyboard and then kept a couple.
Yeah. But then they have that awesome synth wave song when the reporter's looking at the file and you're like, okay, they're onto something here.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, all right, so we got some great synthwave. We've got those cute little outfits that Sharon's been wearing. And then we've got the hot Italians. Like, this is a sick-ass 90s movie. Oh, and then it follows it up with just being the worst 90s movie when it adds in that, I'm singing a song about Captain America's girlfriend.
The gall to have that guy do the credits song, too.
Yeah.
When I've left the theater, there's no way that song has been heard by more than like 100 people max. We are the two of the 102 people who have ever heard the credits song to this movie, because there's no way you would sit in a theater listening to that with a picture of comic book Captain America as the credits roll. At least the most accurate credit in this film was Young Perfect Italians, and then it listed all of the names. And that totally, I was like, they get it. They knew they were perfect. Whoever made the credits knew that they were perfect and gave them the credit that they were due, because how cool would that be on a resume to be like, yes, I was one of the young perfect Italians in a film.
Dude,
I wouldn't say what film. I would just give the credit that I was a young perfect Italian.
And they totally knew that they were young perfect Italians, because we had that one scene where Sharon's like running away in the car and she's like trying to like pull the Italians away with them. And then they're all just like leaning on the car doing cool poses.
Sick lean.
Yeah, one dude's got the gun out like up in the air and he's just like, yeah. And like they knew. They knew
they were the coolest part in the movie, and so they should have won.
Yeah. And you,
because there was no scene ever that matched that shot of the cool Italians.
Yeah.
Of the perfect Italians.
And to go on that, when they're in the castle near the end, and you have that Henry Cavill, that just gorgeous looking man who's
my God.
A tree trunk tank of a
Beautiful.
Man. He's gorgeous, has just perfectly coiffed hair.
Elvis hair, perfect skin. The guy is amazing.
Yeah, and somehow you have the fake ass Jimmy Carter kicking his ass. Like, what? No.
They should have won.
They should have won.
They should have won. The Italian family should have won. Put aside their differences. Everyone, instead of trying to go down different hallways, they just go down one hallway altogether and just shoot the shit out of Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in the movie where the perfect Italians do something less cool than Captain America. He's always beneath them.
In fact, I'm going to go and put them on another pedestal and say, I think that they were trying to do like the righteous thing, where they were like, hey, this is too easy. We got to let them like at least fight us a little bit. Because you have that scene where Sharon and Captain America are at the cafe. The young perfect Italians walk up. They could have just blasted Captain America in the head. But they're like, this is too easy. We cannot do this.
They're like, oh, waiter, let's order a cappuccino first.
Yeah. They sit down. They take like a good break. And then they like pull out their gun and they like make sure that everybody can see it. They're like, we are pulling out their guns now.
In the eye line of Sharon. She's looking at them.
Yeah. And they're like, I would be pretty surprised if Sharon didn't see this, but I'd also be not very surprised.
It's like, well, we want to kill them, but not like in public. So we should just sort of get our guns out so they know that they're unsafe.
Yeah. And then they go on that chase where Captain America steals that kid's, he takes the kid's bike and throws American money at the kid.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
So much money. It like flies out and they're all like, oh my God.
Yeah. And then like Captain America's riding down that hill, literally almost crashes in a non-scripted bit.
It was
and
great.
Then goes flying off of a cliff into the water. And I think the young perfect Italians were like, See what I mean? Like, it's pretty easy to just, like, let these guys kill themselves.
See, their bike floated up to the surface, and that means they're dead.
Yeah, the metal bike floated up to the surface of the water.
Was that what it was? Like, we saw the bike.
The bike,
was
yeah, no, it floated.
Was it that it had sank and they were like, well, they're not on it anymore, so they were dashed upon the rocks and therefore are dead? It didn't make any sense.
If we were able to see the bike at the bottom of the ocean, we would have been able to see Sharon and Captain
If
America.
it was crystalline Italian cove water, you're looking at
San Pellegrino.
It's where they just bottle it. It's so salty.
Yeah.
No, but they're okay.
Yeah.
For some inexplicable reason, because they shouldn't be.
No.
They should have killed them.
Yeah.
This is the movie where we actively want the Red Skull to be whole.
Yes.
He needs his family, and he just also has nukes. His ultimate plan is that he has a detonator.
And you know what? I just want to let this is one I don't actually want to spoil.
Okay.
I want to let the people out there, I want to let you take and make your choice. I don't want to spoil this one for you. We'll say we've already spoiled enough that the young, beautiful Italians don't win. We can leave it there.
Okay. I did have a question, though. It's just like, what was he going to detonate? I don't know.
I know, they never show it. Oh.
It's just a weird, there's no setup of how bad of a guy he is, which is why the conclusion has to be that he's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yes, he wants to control the president, but he fails that, and so he decides to do something else.
He doesn't even want to control the president. He wants to be the president. That's a man who's willing to take responsibility into his own hands. That's a stressful job.
It's almost like he doesn't want to do bad things as the president. He just wants to deny the Environmental Protection Agency Act and then be the president for whatever other decisions he wants to make and be like, oh yeah, the government can sort of still pay the taxes, and we won't turn everyone into an Italian militia. Everyone can still live in America, no problem. I'll just be the president.
Yeah. I think there was a scene like 5 minutes before that little piano scene where it's the little Italian boy looking out the window and he's like, someday I want to be the American president. And his mother's like, oh, little Pabino, no, you
Federico.
cannot. Yeah, come play the piano. And then he's like, okay. And then that's where we pick up.
If you make me play the piano, I will become evil.
Yeah. And she's like, he wants to be evil, such character.
What a true patriot, our son. Oh, no. Okay, Aaron. So what do you think?
Jimmy, would you sit down? Would you recommend this movie to people? Would you tell them, hey, sit down and just take an hour and a half of your time and watch this movie?
I'm sorry, Aaron. We spoiled so much of it because I truly do not care about this movie, and I will forever until the day I die tell people to not watch this movie. It's so irredeemably bad from a quality perspective that the story can be as bad as I want it. I like that I now have a canon to myself where I think that the perfect Italian family has won. But because I believe this to be true, I never want to see this movie, and I don't want people to know the truth behind what has actually happened at the end of the movie. So I will say this is a not watch from me.
All right.
But what do you think?
You know what that means? We got a crisis mode. That's right, folks. I am going to say 100% you should watch this movie.
I knew it.
In the same way that I love hilarious movies like Ace Ventura or even crappy movies like Samurai Cop, this movie is like a combination of both, where I had so much fun and so much pain watching this movie that like all of the audio stuff that was horrible, the music that was horrible, the storyline, the horrible Captain America casting that they chose, where they looked at this man
They
said, this guy, this is him.
This guy, he kind of looks like the comic.
Yeah.
That was kind of it.
They didn't let him talk. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, you absolutely have to take an hour and a half of your life and go watch this movie and laugh your ass off at how bad this movie is.
See, this is a fun crisis mode because I agree with your take in terms of it being so bad you should watch it, but I say it's so bad you can't watch it. And I like that we are disagreeing about this because there is a part of me that's like, I'm glad I watched it, but also I'm so sad I watched it. I'm like so sad.
And see, I almost feel whole now in a way that the Red Skull was looking to feel whole, where I saw his beautiful Italian family and I was like, I know what was missing from my life. It was this beautiful Italian family.
It's true. I'm very glad that we were able to see these perfect Italians because you know what was missing from Captain America First Avenger? Some perfect Italians.
Yeah.
They weren't there. Stanley Tucci's in that one. That's a perfect Italian American right there.
Very true.
Wait, is he an Italian scientist in that movie?
He is. Wait. No, he's German, I thought.
Is he German?
Guess we gotta watch that one.
It's worth a rewatch. But that's the thing, is I'm saying don't watch it because it's just awfully bad. Aaron's saying watch it because it's awfully bad. And our reasoning for our choice is the same, which is funny. But it's like, I'm not going to go tell you to watch Captain America First Avenger in this episode because I'm like, the caliber of these two films is so disparate that I'm like, there's nothing I can say about First Avenger that even makes sense when you compare it to a film like this.
Yeah. And I should add some more context that, like, if you were looking to sit down and watch a good movie tonight, and this is not that movie, don't watch it then. But if you were looking to just enjoy and laugh at a movie, not laugh with a movie, laugh at this movie because this movie is laughable.
And see, I almost, like, I feel like I'm on the cusp of agreeing with you and we almost would have a consensus mode, but this crisis will stand because the main character is so unlikable and bad, and he is surrounded by this cast that is so disinterested in what he has going on that as an audience member, you are then also, in my shoes, disinterested in the entirety of the movie. And so I'm glad we talked about it because this movie, watching this episode almost didn't happen because of how quickly we almost turned off this movie from how bad it was. I think the pinnacle of this movie being this super bad 90s, like late 80s, like, right? Like this had to have been produced for maybe a couple years or at least like 90 to 91. I don't know. The sequence where they're in the rocket and it's just this like huge cavernous silo with the rocket is so bad ice skating show vibes. Like the lighting was terrible.
Yeah.
The Red Skull dialogue is like, I will kill you now. Let's fight. And it just rubbed me the wrong way where I'm like, is this something I've been forced to watch by my parents at like medieval times or something? Like it just felt so bad. And I was like, I felt sick. I was like, oh no, I don't know if we can do this.
and see, they had that little, the rocket's taking off, and how do they emphasize that the rocket's taking off? They do the camera shake. Ooh, the camera's shaking. And I'm watching that and I'm going, oh no, this is a bad movie. This is not going to be good. But then skip ahead a couple minutes and we get that great music change all of a sudden, mid-note, followed by the seagull stealing the boom mic. And I said, oh yes, it's one of those movies, and now I'm in for the next hour and 20 minutes.
The image of the boom operator getting his thing stolen is so crystal clear in my mind that it is true to have happened because I believe it to have happened.
Yeah.
Well, Wow. Crisis mode.
Crisis mode.
And I love that we disagree. I love your reasoning for why to watch it is so that you can MST3K just come up with terrible things to have happened to these people because they deserve it and they're terrible, but you know who deserves to win? These perfect Italians.
These perfect Italians.
There's like a point in this movie where I wish there was an alternate cut that you can just show to people where the perfect Italians win the world.
Yes.
And you kind of get to see them hold hands and arms across America. I'd love it. But
yeah,
we don't get that.
This is a non-objective rating, but I give this movie 10 out of 10 perfect Italians. I have to.
There's at least 10 perfect Italians in this movie. Either way, I think that's the episode.
That's it.
That's it. We've eaten the popcorn. We refilled our bucket and we came back and then we were too sick and we had too much popcorn. And we did a flip in the air and because of gravity it all stayed in there and then we threw it out.
Yeah.
It was just too much popcorn. But that is the show Too Much Popcorn, where Aaron and I talk about movies, specifically today, Captain America from 1991.
Yeah. Folks, if you're out there and you have a movie that you are just dying to hear our opinion on, you're like, hey, this is the movie I'd recommend to 100 people. This is the movie that's 10 times funnier than Clue. You guys got to watch this movie. Put it in our comments. Put it somewhere. Let us know. Get on our Twitter. I think we're somewhere.
We have an email and Twitter.
Yeah. Shout right now. Okay, I heard that one. We'll do that next week.
I got nothing. They must be near you.
Yeah, but please keep sending those in. Put them somewhere. We want more, and we want to watch what you guys want to watch, and we want to tell
watched
people.
This.
Yeah.
No one suggested this one. This was just us.
Yeah, and hey, if you're out there and you watch this movie and you say, "Oh, this is a not watch," or "Hey, Aaron was right. This is a watch," let us know that too. Like, let us know what you guys are thinking, because this really is a non-objective podcast. We just want to tell people to watch or not watch movies, and we want you to come up with your own opinions on things.
See, the funny thing, if someone chooses not to watch this based on my thing, then their comment is not fun. They're saying, well, I didn't watch the movie. If they watch it because of you, and then they have this diatribe of the trials that they had to go through to watch this movie, then that's a fun comment I want to see. So, like Aaron was saying, leave a comment wherever you want. Leave a review on iTunes. Leave a review on wherever you're listening. Right now, if you're listening on Spotify, give us a rating, or at least just like listen to an episode on there, because that's where we're trying to get. Like,
yeah, that's our home.
That's the place. That's the place right now. For right now, it doesn't have to be forever, but right now it's like Spotify. If you pay for it or don't, I don't know how it works. But we're on there, and that's the good one for now.
Until we come up with our own app someday.
The Too Much Popcorn app with no downloads on any app store. Thank you so much for listening. When you have a good one, enjoy those movies. Goodbye.
Bye.